What advice would you give to somebody looking to build a career that combines purpose with profit, just like you've done?
So for me, I spent years trying to figure out what my purpose was when I really realized it was just helping people. So I bring my purpose into everything. I help people in real estate. I help people when I'm coaching them. I help people with my book. So it's really just feeling what fuels you and leaning into it.
Welcome to the Freedom Point Real Estate Podcast, where we talk about creating more time freedom through passive real estate investing. Passive investing in real estate challenges conventional investment wisdom. We are passionate about learning and sharing resources with others who are ready to transform their investing mindset. Quick disclaimer as always, I am not a CPA, I am not an attorney or a financial advisor. This is not financial advice, not telling you or anyone else what to do. The views and opinions expressed in these podcasts are provided for education and informational purposes only and are not necessarily the views of my employer. I'm glad you're here. Now let's dig in. All right, welcome back, Freedom Point Podcast listeners. Thank you again for jumping into yet another episode of the Freedom Point. I'm so glad you're here with us again today. I've got another amazing guest with me, as I always do. I have Teneille Zellweger on the call. Teneille, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much for having me. I'm really grateful that I get to be here, and thanks to everybody for listening, and hope you guys are all having an awesome day so far.
Yeah, thanks. I really appreciate it. So Teneille is a realtor. And she's also with or through Elevated Results coach as well. And she's also a former Tony Robbins result coach and author. She's got a number of different things that I'm really looking forward to learning more about and chopping up with her. So before we kind of get into some, other detailed, more granular questions, Teneille, maybe you can let our listening audience know a little bit more about you, your journey, what you're focused on today, etc.
Well, thanks so much. And you basically said it all. So I started in the real estate industry when I was 21 years old. And one of my favorite quotes by my mentor, Tony Robbins, was "Success without fulfillment is the ultimate failure." So by the time I was 25, I made my first million in the industry. I hit all of my real estate goals and I completely burnt myself out. I wasn't taking care of myself. I didn't work out. All I did was party and work. And before you know, you hit burnout, like many entrepreneurs do. And so at that time, I knew that there was something more meant for my life. I just didn't know what it was. And I spent a few years feeling like I was navigating through the darkness, or I felt lost. I just wasn't sure what my purpose was. And then one day I was laying in bed and I was scrolling through Instagram. Probably the best thing that happened to me through Instagram was this yoga teacher training popped up. And this was completely out of alignment for me. I never even practiced yoga, but I had this little inner voice telling me, go to the yoga teacher training. But I thought, this is so not right. I'm a businesswoman. All I do is work. I can't believe I'm going to go to the beach in Mexico and go learn how to teach yoga, because I didn't even want to do that. But I followed this intuitive guidance and I went to this yoga teacher training on the beach, and I completely changed from my masculine yin, driven energy. All I did was work and party. And I showed up to the beach in Mexico where we weren't allowed our phones. We weren't allowed our computers. We weren't allowed any screens, no stimulants, not even coffee, no meat, nothing, no drugs, no alcohol. And so I honestly felt like I was going through a detox for about 3 days, not being able to check in the needs of all my clients, everyone else around me. And then by about day 3, I, for the first time in my adult life, felt like I had met myself and I was in the present moment. And that's where my whole journey began. So then after that, I really dove into unleashing my spiritual power and just awakening my own intuition. But I felt like there was 2 sides of me. There was this businesswoman and then this spiritual yogi. And I felt like I needed to bring them into alignment somehow. So that's where I found my mentor, Mr. Tony Robbins. And he taught me how business is a spiritual game and how we can leverage that into everything we do. And it can be our power. And how when we become that catalyst and we really tap into our own purpose, we can inspire others to do so. So then I became a Tony Robbins results coach. So that was a huge accomplishment. But from there, I had that inner calling to write a book. So I've just actually published my first book called Connected in Chaos. And that is where it is really just helping people to connect to their inner light, to find certainty in a world that is uncertain, and how they can unleash their results in their life and business. So that's ultimately what I'm focusing on right now, is really being that gap to bridge it between business and spirituality, and help people to awaken their own intuition, to turn their dreams into their reality. And so I bring that into everything, whether it's real estate, coaching, even my family. So I have a young daughter, she's 2, I have a husband, and I love helping animals. So that's another one of my purposes. But yeah, that's what I'm focusing on now, is how I can be the best version of me to help others become the best versions of themselves.
Yeah, that's so fascinating. And obviously, it's a daily process, right? We're a work in process or progress, as I like to say, right? So I really appreciate you sharing, kind of some of your story and your journey. As it relates to the Tony Robbins organization, most people that are listening to this podcast, either know of Tony Robbins or maybe they've consumed, some of his content or education in the past. From your perspective, what's one core principle from the experience being a part of the Tony Robbins organization that you apply daily in your real estate business?
It's such a good question, but ultimately it's taking care of yourself first, because you work harder on yourself than you work on your business. So when you're in good alignment, spiritually, mentally, physically, you have the energy that you start to attract the right people, the right places, the right things, but you can actually take those actions. And then also the structure piece. So you don't just wake up being the version of you that you want to be. You have to work at it every single day. So just like a bodybuilder, they have to work out every single day. You have to do the same with your mindset. You have to do the same with your priming rituals. So that is the biggest thing that I took away, is your morning routine, structuring your day, and surrounding yourself with people that have the results that you want, or that inspire you, that motivate you. And sometimes it's hard, because it's not saying you have to let people go, but you have to choose to be in different circles. You have to choose to step out of your comfort zone and be around the people that are going to challenge you to elevate, versus staying in your comfort zone.
Yeah, it makes total sense. And I appreciate that, perspective on, the best investment that a person can make is largely in themselves, and then this whole concept of, if you want to get better or get great at something, it really comes down to putting, in the reps, having the right attitude, but also surrounding yourself, with the right people, right? So if you want to become a better version of yourself, well, maybe surround yourselves with other people, that have already, kind of been there, done that before. I know as it relates to kind of the realtor space, that a lot of realtors, they tend to get burned out pretty quickly, right? It's a grind, right? It's a grind, especially if you have a young family. I can only imagine, being a young mother with children, and, doing showings, evenings, weekends, you're basically at the beck and call, of your client. What do you think separates the ones who thrive long term versus those that fizzle out?
So most people hit a burnout. Not even just realtors, but most business owners will hit a burnout at some time in their career. And it's because they have not set in those routines to take care of themselves, to balance things out, to have a schedule. So it took me a really long time to do that. But the first thing I did was I started scheduling in my morning workouts. I started scheduling in my morning rituals. My clients didn't have to know that I was taking the first hour of the day to focus on me. But when I did that, I was then full and had the fuel to help everyone else around me, including my family, including my clients. Versus if I wake up in the morning and my day's being run by my clients, I'm not taking care of myself, then you're going to burn out. So I think that's the biggest thing, is that you have to take into account that you matter, that you are your biggest asset. And once you can start putting yourself first in some manners, you can actually be better and show up more fully for other people. And the other thing was finding balance, was to have it help, to get a team. So I learned from Tony, leverage, the power of delegation. We don't have to do everything ourselves. And I know as a young entrepreneur, when I first started, it was really hard to give away that power, that sense of control, to let someone else help one of my real estate clients, or to let someone else help me do things. But that was a huge thing that helped me to grow and to have balance, and to grow, to be able to be a coach and own a real estate business and also write a book. Was the power of delegation and leverage was a huge piece.
Are you saying that you're a recovering control freak?
Well, yes, because I loved my business so much that it was like I had so much control over it. So yes, I guess, Jeremy, that's true.
No, I love that. I always like to say that the word leverage is like the eighth wonder of the world, but leveraging that art of delegation, right, can be incredibly powerful, as people look to scale up and grow up. What are some of the most common mindset blocks that you see first-time buyers or first-time sellers, having, and how is it that you coach them through some of those mental mindset blocks?
Yeah, well, success at anything is 80% your mindset. So if you believe you can do it, you're right. But if you believe you can't, you're also right. So it's really helping people to navigate first off what their outcome is, like what do they actually want, and then helping them draw out a strategy of on how we're going to get there. But the biggest thing is keeping people grounded, just being there with them and helping them navigate through it. So we do in real estate, before I got my license, nobody told me that I was going to be a psychologist or a therapist. But that's where coaching really helped me because I help people through death. We help people through loss. We help people through exciting things like growing their family, moving, buying their first business. So we really get to help people navigate through those shifts. And I've used a lot of different coaching strategies and tools just to help them with their mindset or to help them learn that they can be the controller. And maybe it's not always what they think it's supposed to look like, but sometimes you have to surrender to every single step and you'll still get the same outcome. So it's really just being able to kind of help them and navigate and be there with them.
Yeah, it makes total sense. And sometimes you just have to show up, right? So really appreciate that. On the other side of that, kind of coin, I know that you're largely focused on being innovative and innovation. Are there any specific tools or trends or strategies that you're most excited about in the real estate space today?
So technology is like excelling at a rapid pace. I feel like something new comes out and the next day there's something else, but it's really being able to not go shiny object on everything because there's a lot of different technology, but finding something that works for you. And I know everybody uses Chat GPT, I feel like, but something that's been really beneficial for me that I've just started using is when I go into a home and the buyer doesn't like the way that the living room looks, or they feel like the living room is so small, or I don't like their furniture and they can't visualize it. I just in 2 seconds I've been taking photos of chat with ChatGPT saying, can you design it like this? And then I show them what the room would look like. And something so simple like that, it honestly helps them to envision what their house will look like. And then it can put them past that one hurdle. So that's been one I've been really using. And then obviously just the automation piece. So in the back end of the business with the coaching and then also with real estate, really just trying to automate by using several different like platforms and everything.
I'm Zach Captainstall, CEO and co-founder of Rise 48 Equity. Our goal is to help you protect and grow your wealth by investing in large multifamily apartment buildings. We do all the work as far as sourcing these large apartment buildings from the brokers, doing all of the on-site management with our vertically integrated property management company, doing all the renovations with our vertically integrated construction company. We completely rebrand the exteriors. We will renovate the interiors to our full platinum level scope, which increases the value of the asset to get that profit margin for the investor. If you'd like to learn about how you can partner with us on these exciting opportunities, and go to our website and set up a call with our team.
Yeah, technology is it's screaming at such a fast pace. My friend just told me the other day that you can use ChatGPT to take a picture of whatever you have left in your refrigerator, and it will come up with a meal menu plan for you based upon just the ingredients you have remaining in your fridge.
Like there's so many things, and it's those things that you don't think about till you use it, and it's mind blowing. So we can use it for the good, and I think that's where it's just picking what works for you, and obviously being open to it. Because I know there's a lot of people that are scared of the change. And when I look at real estate, sometimes you think of realtors that have been in the industry for 40 or 50 years. They're not using even DocuSign. They're not using electronics. They get left behind. So in business, we do have to innovate. But again, you get to pick and choose what works for you because not everything will. And I think that's the biggest thing is just figuring out what are your weak points and then what could you leverage or delegate in and using AI or leveraging a platform.
That's great. Let's talk a little bit more about your book. I think you said the name was Connected Chaos, right?
So it's called Connected in Chaos. Yeah.
Connected and Chaos. Thank you. Uh, what was the inspiration behind, really writing that book? And, what's one key takeaway that you hope that every reader takes away after reading it?
It's really that the power is within each of you. It's not in the external world. And that's the biggest thing is I again had that intuitive guidance that I was meant to write a book and it came to me that it was connected in chaos. But I honestly didn't really know what I was supposed to write about, but it just kept coming to me that I was supposed to write this book. And then a couple years later, the pandemic hit. And when the pandemic hit, something happened that none of us thought would. The whole world shut down. We were isolated, our communities were cut off, our whole world changed within a matter of minutes. And it was then when I realized the power of community, the power of everything that lies within us, and that everybody was seeking for external validation versus turning inwards. And then obviously seeing what's like the amount of screens and what it's doing to children, the addictions, because when we open our phone, we get a dopamine hit. And it really just came to me one day. I was walking around and I saw every single person looking at their phone. Nobody was saying hello to anyone. Nobody was connecting with each other. There was just a lack of that. And that's where the book just started to come to me, of how it's really a gap for people, and that I'm meant to help people to unleash their inner power, and how when we can tap into our intuition, we can truly unleash any result that we want in our life and business. So it's a mix of spiritual practices, but also with my knowledge of being a Tony Robbins results coach, the power of your mindset. So there's tools and strategies in there really just to awaken your inner power and bring it into your life and your business.
Yeah, makes total sense. So I'm really calling what you just said like the gas pedal, okay? But there's also the brake pedal, right? And so I'd like to get your perspective a little bit more about kind of how you personally structure your day to stay focused and deliver, high performance across the fact that you carry a lot of different roles as a realtor, as a coach, as an author, as an entrepreneur, as a wife, a mother, right? How do you balance it all while staying really results focused, the gas pedal, but then also having to pump the brakes?
So the biggest thing is my morning ritual. So that is something that over the last couple of years of having a daughter, it's changed a lot, because before it was just me. It was easy to get up at 5 a.m., go for a run, go to the gym, then do my morning rituals. Is a lot easier. But having a family, I've had to shift a few things to make it work. But the biggest thing is my morning ritual. So when I wake up in the morning, before I even let my feet hit the floor, I think of at least 5 things I'm grateful for. So right away, I'm shifting my mindset into what could go right today versus focusing on what could go wrong. So it puts me in that energy of gratitude. Then I've integrated where my daughter she comes with me now, and we go do a few sun salutations. We do our meditation. I do what Tony calls your 3 to Thrive, which is the visualization of your goals. And then I always pick a tarot card, and my daughter actually does that with me every morning. So she kind of knows when I'm doing yoga, she'll do it with me now. We just have our little ritual. Then I'll go work out. And then it's the structure part of your business and your day. So it's scheduling everything. It's really important to schedule. And then the biggest thing for me is delegation and having people to help me do it so that I can show up and do the best that I can when I'm in that time allotted space.
Yeah, it makes total sense. And I think a lot of it just simply has to be with being very intentional, with actually doing it and kind of sticking, to what you want your schedule to look like as well. So what advice would you give to somebody looking to build a career that combines purpose with profit, just like you've done?
The biggest thing is, Les Brown always said this quote, that essentially that your purpose was given to you for a reason, and whatever inspires you is your purpose. So if a dream was given to you, it's yours to pursue. It doesn't have to make sense to anybody else, but if you're choosing to do something because someone else did it and then they turned their purpose into profit, you're not going to get the result. But if you just trust your inner guidance, you trust what inspires you, and you just start to lean into that, that's where you're going to unlock your purpose. And it doesn't always have to be something big. So for me, I spent years trying to figure out what my purpose was, when I really realized it was just helping people. So I bring my purpose into everything. I help people in real estate. I help people when I'm coaching them. I help people with my book. So it's really just feeling what fuels you and leaning into it. And before you know it, it will turn into something.
Yeah, it makes total sense. I kind of live by a very similar motto myself, that the more I give, the more I serve, the greater it's going to be for me in the end, right? And it's amazing what happens, when you have that type of a mental mindset or focus and goal. So you may have already alluded to this, but I'm just going to ask you the question, and that is, what does elevated results mean to you, and how can more people begin raising their own standards today?
Ultimately, by elevating your inner soul and becoming the best version of you. Because when one of us does that, we become the catalyst for everyone else around us to do that. So the biggest thing is just we're human beings. We're not always going to be 100% on, but it's choosing to be the best that you can that day. It's choosing to show up. It's choosing to shift your mindset. It's choosing that when the world's crumbling around you or your business, there's happening and there's problems everywhere, you're choosing to look at it through the victor mentality versus the victim mentality. And that's the biggest thing, is that no matter where you're at in your life, no matter where you're at in your business, you have the decision of making a decision. You can shift your perspective to it. If you can't change the environment or the external world, shift your focus, and that's when things will start to change.
Yeah, no, I appreciate your perspective on that. I'll never forget my high school business teacher told me once that sometimes we need a checkup from the neck up to avoid stinking thinking and hardening of the attitude. And for whatever reason, that was told to me 30 years ago now, and I still remember it to today. And it's a constant daily reminder, right?
I don't think I'm ever going to forget that one either.
Good. Well, I'd love to know. Yeah, thank you. I'd love to know what's next for you. We're somewhere in the latter part of 2025. Do you have any specific goals left on your to-do list or big box items that you'd like to check off your list? As we round out the rest of the year.
Yeah, well, I think it's all about growth. So again, you got to keep moving forward. You got to progress. So the biggest thing is with my book, I want it to be a New York Times bestseller. So that's really where a lot of my focus and my energy is going, is how can I do that? How can I help more people? And then continuing to balance and grow my real estate business. So I'm looking at growing the team over this next year as well. So that's what my biggest goals are. And then showing up and being the best mom that I can be, and really just living life to the fullest and embracing every moment and being present and just showing up as the best version of me.
That's great. Well, that's very motivating, inspirational for all of us. With that said, is there maybe 1, 2, 3 different ways that our listening audience can learn more about what you're up to and connect with you offline?
Yeah, I would love to hear from you guys. Instagram, you can follow me. I do have my real estate page, and then I have my coaching page, which I'll send to you, Jeremy. And then the biggest thing would be you can reach out on my website as well if you want to know more about elevated results. There's also the book is there as well. So again, thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, you as well. Thank you very much for joining the show today, Teneille. And listening audience, thank you again for jumping into yet another episode of The Freedom Point. We look forward to having you join us on the next episode.
Thank you for hanging out with us today and for listening to the Freedom Point podcast, powered by Starting Point Capital. This show is for entertainment purposes only. Nothing said on this show should be considered financial advice. Before making any financial decision, please consult with a professional. This show is copyrighted by the Freedom Point podcast. Written permissions must be granted before syndication or rebroadcasting. If you're interested in connecting, you can find contact information at startingpointcapital.com.